I have a big voice, but I'll try.
What happened to the mic?
I got a mic, but there's no speaker system.
Oh. Well,
so it'll go on to the tape.
Oh, okay.
Okay, one more thing I can do here. Yeah, I'm going to try to holler. This one doesn't involve a lot of turning, so I won't be preoccupied. I'll be able to try to keep a running dialogue. But the vacuum chucks are neat, and I made my own system, so it's kind of not the same as one you would buy. And it's fun. The challenge, I think, is getting this guy made, the hub back here. I made one for this lathe a while ago, and this is the hub I made. It's got 3 bearings in it. This one doesn't want to come out. And then there's 2 more, and I asked for sealed bearings. And there's 1, and then there's 2, and they go in there and they're nice and flush, and then you get this brass coupling, and you chuck it up and turn it down to the right size to go in there and epoxy it in. Anyway, I put it up to the test, and I couldn't get a good vacuum. I got 12 inches. That's not enough to turn with. So I did the testing, and I found out that these bearings that were supposed to be sealed weren't. So I'll pass this around so you can get the general idea of what you're going to make. And this is the end that screws in there. And I always put a filter on it. Doesn't really matter what kind of a filter. This is a lawnmower fuel filter. This is a car fuel filter. It's a general. All right, so here's the bearings. And when you slip them in, you'll just see how loose they are. And the seal on these are bad.
Those new bearings, Joe?
Yeah, they were. They don't look new now because they've been beat around the shop for a while. This guy uses smaller seal bearings, and I got a cork for a seal here. It's sealed on this end, and you see I turned it down here to a bevel. And then this guy is a lamp rod or 1/8 pipe thread, and I turn a piece of Delrin to fit in there, and I get a pretty good seal on it. And this is how I transfer my vacuum from the pump to the hub.
What's the purpose of the filter?
To keep that nasty dust out of your pump.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Okay, and on the other system, the rotary that I have on a General, I've got 2 filters. I have one down near the pump, and I have one right here on the bleeder valve. This is a manifold system I use on the General, and it chucks up right here. Just like that.
Joe, instead of having 1 bearing or 2 bearings, using 5, is that just more safety, security to keep leaks from coming through?
3 bearings is a whole lot better than 1. Especially if they're no good. If they're no good.
Where did you get the bearings?
Blair.
So that's where we got them before, and they worked, okay.
Yeah, well, that particular set he gave me was apparently dust-proof, but not sealed. Not Joe-proof, right? Exactly. So this is all local manufacture. This is
Yeah, to buy that part right there would be where they sell it. It's different.
about $60.
Some of that a little more expensive too, right?
Some of them are more expensive. They want $100 for this thing.
Right, that was a big price.
I like to make my own, so you can. Well, let's get into the chuck. Now, these things are surprisingly strong. I had my doubts. Now I've still got the dimple from when I turned it. I turned it like this. There's the spur drive marks. I'm going to turn that off, right? So on the point of the spur drive, that's going to help me center it up a little bit. That's pretty good. Now this thing went right up to, it says 31 pounds, but I don't believe it. Probably more like 29. And then when I open this guy, see if you can watch that thing compress. I can hear more air coming through. Let's take this off. That's the air that it's pulling. All right, now it's back up to S27 and climbing. Now I see it compressed. And I've got almost 1/8 of an inch of space here. It pulled it up that much. It's on there. Now, I wouldn't try to hog anything out with it, but you can certainly turn lightly. I did bring a gouge. So you see, I have complete faith in that. On this one, well, you can if you want. I was just going to turn it off.
Okay.
See, it's falling.
How long does it take?
It's down to 15.
But you
10.
that tank that he has underneath, and we don't want to talk about that,
5. 4 pounds and it falls off. And I was turning on about 28. Now we got 28 times 14.7, which is the pressure of 28 times 14.7 equals 411.6 pounds of pressure holding that guy on there.
How many?
411.6 at sea level. So that's pretty intense.
Why did you make the white part so long versus shorter?
For deep bowls.
Turn the other way. Okay, you got it.
Deep bowls, right. Well, I'm turning the bottom so the bowl will go on. We got some deep.
Yeah, right
Like this, so if you're doing the bottom here,
There we go.
you stick that in there.
It works, right?
see how close I got to center. Not very. I don't have a center mark to help me, so. All right, now, one other thing I did just for this purpose is I put a bleeder valve on here so I can lower the pressure. I got that down to about 11 inches. It's lopsided, all right.
One way to center it, I don't know if you ever tried it, so if you don't have the outside finish, put your tool rest out here and then take a stick and just kind of get in there and let's turn and
And
slow.
rub it, right.
Just kind of lever it until it squares up, straightens out.
You can also use your tool rest as a guide, a rough guide,
Yeah.
like this. I'm only 3/8 of an inch out now.
Put no dial indicator?
I used that earlier. All right, that's a whole lot better than it was. Let's get this out of the way.
Back the pressure back up.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you got a bleeder there?
At 12 pounds, it didn't jump off, but you can see it worked. All right, here's a piece of wood that I'm not real sure about, and still, I'm waiting.
Where'd you get the new dial?
5 pounds, inches,
Pardon me?
down to 3 inches before it popped free.
Where did you get the gauge?
This gauge, it came with it.
Pardon me?
It came with it.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, I
You can buy vacuum gauges over at the Ryder.
yeah.
Oh, you can?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Did you go to any auto parts place?
I don't know about auto parts.
Yeah,
You can get them at a pump supply, you know, like the Ryder.
I got mine at Ace Hardware down in Homestead. I just asked him to get it for me, and he got me a couple.
Yeah. Or you can order them online. From,
Yeah.
You got to make sure it's
Okay, do they have to be?
Exactly.
It has to be vacuum, not pressure.
Yes, vacuum.
Vacuum.
They have to be oil,
They have-
Joe?
No, they do not.
So you could have an air one with, I have one, an oil-filled one that leaks the oil, so it has no longer has the oil. Doesn't matter?
That's only to dampen the wiggle if you have a vibrating source.
Also one that's actually just like just distilled mineral oil. So you can buy them in a local auto shop.
And you can see I didn't have it all that tight, and it's still working pretty good. Here's another one I made. I had trouble getting that one off, so I doubled the thickness.
Is that PVC?
This is PVC pipe. No, this is a coupling. This is pipe. That's pipe. And to get that, this is a straight coupling. Cut the coupling, no, this is a pipe. Cut the coupling in half, and you get this for a short one like this. All right, and here I used wood for a base.
Yeah.
When you cut the pipe, you know, chance of getting it back.
I chuck it up on a lathe, and I use a tool to cut it.
Yeah.
It gives me a nice, even and square cut.
You're also using wood on some, and then I saw you've got the plastic wood.
Plastic wood, I think that's about the best.
That probably is.
That or acrylic.
By the way, the plastic wood threads real nice.
Yes, it does.
You know, use the tap like we did last month,
Right.
and it works wonderfully.
And the acrylic works wonderful too. And it's neat because you can see how dirty your work is. Ah!
when we were doing it with you, we epoxied. Are you still epoxying inside?
Yeah. That's what I was going to use on there. This is the plastic wood. This is a sample I got from Deco. Plastic decking.
Yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah, it is heavy.
Expensive too.
Uh-huh, it is. But that was free. Here's a sample I made. This is a big one. With some 1-inch acrylic.
Wow.
Now, when you get something this big and you put a seal on it, you have to be careful how much vacuum you put on it, because it'll suck the bottom right in and crack it.
Well, actually, you know, speaking about that, Will has one, and he turned a thin, either platter or a thin bowl, and when he threw the vacuum to it, it did crack the bottom.
I did one with almond wood. It was beautiful, big old 12-inch platter. And I put it on there, and sure enough, I had about 20 inches of vacuum on that thing, and I heard a little tick. I kept on working on it. I heard another tick, and the vacuum started going down.
Yeah.
And when I took it off, there's a big Y, split in 3 places.
Is it a different kind of wood?
That was almond wood. It was a 1/4 of an inch thick, but it wasn't. Well, almond wood's pretty good wood. It's still cracked.
Would you explain about the...
I will. We're getting there.
Oh, okay.
Now, with this pump, I jury-rigged this inlet valve. It came with this bleeder valve and the gauge. I bought these ball valves. I put one below the bleeder valve because if I had a big vacuum on there and I turned the pump off or lost power, the vacuum up here will suck the oil up in here. I don't necessarily want that. So when I'm going to turn off the pump and hold the vacuum for any reason, I turn this ball valve off. So it gives me something to play with. The bleeder valve does come in handy.
Say you do some farming, you do something with a rotary tool, turn the thing off, you're not turning it anymore, but you since it's holding it nice and tight, and you tighten that valve, how long will that hold that up? 2 hours or 30 minutes or for the rest?
Well, I just demonstrated we get about 10, 12 seconds in this setup.
Oh, it won't hold it
I won't hold it forever.
Yeah, you can leave the pump running, just don't turn it.
Right, leave the pump running, that's fine. Now, I have a rotary pump on the General. And that thing, when you lose power, you lose vacuum, like that. You got about a half a second, and there goes your piece, if you turn it. So, reading it on the internet, they say put on a reservoir chamber. This is. And seeing I don't use clamps with my fittings, it's not all that necessary. Behind the filter, from the chuck, I put a little T and another little air connector. Now this tank here was a bit of a challenge because with these Freon tanks, well, let's put something up there, I guess. This is not a fine finish on here, by the way. The sealing is done by the pad, and that can be a mouse pad. You can go to Michael's and get these closed cell foam pads that come in different colors. White, black is my favorite too. There's a dollar store mouse pad. The closed cell foam from Michael's is better. All right, so this is taking a little while to draw down because we have a volume here. And it's up to about 27 now. Reservoir. So now with the rotary pump, if I lost power, this will give me about 2 minutes. On this, it'll give me about 30 minutes.
So that's your safety valve
In case I lost power, right. So, I'm up to 27 and a half. Turn that valve off. And went down to 26 and a half. So you can see it's going to be a while before that thing falls off. And in the meantime, we'll talk about making one of these.
And of course, the bigger the tank.
The bigger the tank, right. The one I have on the other lathe is 2 4-inch pieces of PVC with caps on both ends. On one, I just got an L coming out the end of the cap. The other one, I got a T, and I connect them together. And they're about a foot long. And I got them underneath my my lathe in a little cabinet down there, below the motor. And then I run a pipe up to a T at the vacuum pump. It's a rotary pump, so it draws the vacuum right now, but it loses the vacuum real quick too.
The 220 one you got?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, those are.
At a garage sale, I bought 2 more of those type, but they were oil lubricated.
Right.
They came from an aquarium. One of them has a bad motor, and the other one I got running. But it uses the oil. It's got a little oil cap on the side, and it sucks it in to keep it lubricated. It pulls the vacuum very well. It'll pull up to 30 inches, 29 and a half, right now.
Joe, the one you did with the caps and the PVC pipe, you just drill a hole and actually thread for your...
Actually, I drilled it through
the side, the end.
The cap. Whoops. Make believe that's a cap.
Yeah.
I went through this way, so I got both thicknesses.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and I just tapped it.
You tapped it.
I threaded it and tapped it. I used the tape and the nylon fittings. Super cheap, super simple. And you can see.
And how long is that hold for?
It's still holding.
How much you got now?
No, not here. On the 2 PVC.
Okay, it's down to 7.5 inches.
No, but on the PVC pipe
It goes from about 2.5 seconds to 20 seconds.
Okay, so enough time to turn it off and...
Enough time to turn it off and stop it and hold on to it. Just enough time. That's the disadvantage of the rotary pumps. They move a lot of air and they get a good vacuum. But when they lose power, you lose vacuum. Right now.
Do you have a check valve in there?
No. No, actually I built one, but it doesn't do much.
Okay, because I think if you put a check valve,
A one-way check valve.
yeah, right at the pump.
I could. I did put, there, starting to move. Yeah. It's still holding, but it's sliding around. It would fly if this was running. There it goes. How long was that? 5 minutes? All right. Let's pass these guys around. These are threaded 1.25 by 8 for the general lathe. And that's a monster. Here's a medium.
Joe, where did you get a 1-inch piece of PVC flexi?
Say what?
Where did you get the Flexi at 1 inch?
At a free-flea thing that's on the internet, a lady was giving up her glass top table, and it had these L-shaped stands made out of 1-inch PVC. So I went and picked up the table for free, and cut the plexiglass, and threw the glass away. All right, so we got T91. I use this for pendants. And if I need something bigger, I can pull this out and thread in a different one. Here's one slightly larger. And on this one is still wood. I haven't put the CA glue in there yet, but you can see where it's starting to get worn, and it's for what? Little pendants, wood pendants. Here's one I use for medium-sized bowls. 2 different ones. Now on this one, on these two, they would get stuck on my spindle.
Mouse pad?
That's a mouse pad. So I drilled a hole in here, and I used my my rods. One in the spindle, and the 3/8 in the side of the wood. Now when I did this one, I got a little close to the PVC there, and it started leaking a little bit, so I put a little CA glue in there, took care of it. And on this one, it's wood. Whoops. And I didn't have that problem, but on there, you can see where I put the CA glue on here to strengthen the threads. And after I did that, I ran the tap in there again to clean it up.
And the wood to PVC, epoxy holds?
Some of them I use epoxy, some of them I use Gorilla Glue.
Liquid nails work.
What?
I haven't tried liquid nails. I haven't.
And hold it enough and fill it.
Yeah.
I haven't tried liquid nails. I've tried rubber cement.
Oh, you mean to hold the foam on?
It's a whole rubber cement for the hold the foam on, but this joint, the best that I've found is the epoxy. I turn the groove slightly large, maybe a 32nd larger, and fill it and then squeeze it in, and then I clamp it with these guys in 2 places until I get a good squeeze out and it's square. And if we've got time, I'll do that tonight. But here's another one that I made for this guy. It's a little bit long, and it has evidence of being used inside.
No, we didn't want this to get wet.
Oh, well, it did, see?
No, we didn't want the box to get wet.
Oh, okay. Thanks. This is a nice piece of something. Looks like bloodwood, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's one I had, and here's one where I used the Gorilla Glue, and it came out pretty good. That's a scratch. Doesn't go through. Okay. Now, here's one that I was using quite a bit for a while. I used a piece of wetsuit, and it's not quite closed cell, but it worked. Wetsuit.
Oh, wetsuit, yeah.
Old wetsuit that was discarded, and you can see that it's cracked.
Yeah.
It just gave up the ghost, but it still works. Pass them around.
I got, and Joanne, Michael, I got this foam craft stuff. It's about 1/16 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch, and for like $5, you get a whole pack of them. and they're self-stick, adhesive, and they work wonderful on.
This I got from Michael's.
I just make a washer, yeah.
That I got from Michael's. It's
Yeah.
quarter inch thick.
Okay, I got a little bit thinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It still works?
Yeah.
That gives you enough room for a little bit of warpage.
I like the concept, yeah.
And this is the mouse pad. We can pass that around too.
The bearings are inside here, correct?
Yes. An example of that is still floating around out there, I think. Yeah. I use 3 bearings, but you want to get really sealed, not dust-proof.
Right.
And these are just dust-proof instead of sealed.
Then what kind of rod you got going connecting from here?
For these, I usually use a brass coupling, a 1/8 coupling, and I turn it round to a close tolerance here, and I epoxy it in.
Oh, okay.
And then with the 1/8, you see it right there.
Okay.
And I only use half of it. After I turn it down, I cut it in half and use half of it.
What I use on mine is lamp rod.
Yeah, but you're coupling to the lamp rod on this. He just asked a question. Yes, Olo?
I don't know if you're going to remember this, it's been a few years ago. I called you and told you that I had a piece of wood that I couldn't get it to stick to my
Yes, I remember.
vacuum shop.
All right, Waldo's bringing up a point that's good to mention. This vacuum system works pretty good for the close-grained woods. The things that are super porous, like Norfolk Island pine, will not work. The air goes right through it like you're breathing through it. And you can't get a vacuum on it.
Unless you finish it first.
You can try to get a seal with sealer, and or even loads of wax on it.
I've used
But-
sanded sealer, it works.
Yeah, but it's still not all that great. All right. You were asking about the bearings?
Yeah, just how you made that part.
Right there, there's the bearings. There's 3 of them in here stacked. And then this is a close fit to the lamp rod. This is just a wine cork.
Mentoring list, right?
Huh?
You're still on the mentoring list, right?
I think so.
Huh?
I should be. If there is a
By
list
the
on
way, just to promote the mentoring thing, a couple of years back, I wanted to do this. I called up Joe and went over to his house, and he helped me work through the whole process of going through it. And I mean, he was a great mentor, and my system still works. So use the mentoring system.
Thank you. Nice flowers. Okay. So now we've seen how it works. Let's figure out how to make a chuck. I've got a piece of 3/4 inch acrylic here. It's still got the paper on it. I drew the pattern for this guy, nice and long. I'll probably put that on there just like that. Okay. I started by finding the center, using this as a pattern. Actually, I used a coupling. I went around the outside of the coupling, kind of far out, so I'd have room to play with it. And I went on a bandsaw and cut it round. And I found the center, and I drilled a 1/16 hole all the way through at the center. And with that, I placed this on the plate, and I marked out my 4 holes. I could get away with 2, But the whole idea here is to get this as true as you can, or as true as your lathe is, on here. You don't want to just put that on there, grab your Forstner bit, even on the drill press, it's not square enough. So then you drill your hole with your lathe. So you get dead center and true. I've already started this. I drilled the 1-inch part, and I discovered I got to go a little bit further. I do this first to drill the relief of the threads, so that when you're putting it in, your threads don't go all the way up to your headstock. What do you call that? The collar?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you need some relief on the end, so
Yeah.
bottom out.
So I used that through hole that I did to center my Forstner bit. And I pre-drilled it earlier with the 1-inch to go through. And then when I was looking at it just now, I didn't drill it far enough. So we're going to drill a little bit more. At a relatively slow speed for a Forstner bit.
Where you choose to get the feed, you can't see it because of the tank.
Beg your pardon.
That was our guard, coming this way.
Right. All right, so let's give this another. Now with my Forstner bits, I dressed them with a diamond file before or CBN file, whatever, before I used it on the acrylic. And the dressing I did was only on this surface. And I count how many strokes I do there, and I flip it over, and I do the same number of strokes here. And I keep that thing flat to the whole thing, and that's the only thing I do to sharpen my Forstner bits, and it seems to be enough. I don't dress the spurs out here at all.
You don't want to do that.
You speak from experience.
Yes.
Okay?
Stick them on the grinder.
All right. So, as soon as we got here, I took my 7/8, which is the size for the threads, and I dressed it up.
So that's for 1/8 by 8, 7/8.
That's a 1/8 by 8. And here's the tap. We pass that around. Maybe you saw this last week, or last week. Deal. This one I think was $19. So 1 by 8 is $29. And again, you want this to go in straight, so I use the lathe. If anybody wants to see this, come on up. Now, when I screwed this onto the faceplate, I put a little 1/8 pad back here, because I don't want to go through the acrylic and into the metal.
Well, you don't want to sharpen the bit again?
Just giving them a tip. All right. Again, we're running at relatively slow speed. Now I'm getting a nice little ribbon out of there instead of broken up pieces. And as soon as I quit smelling it and I see wood chips coming out, I know I'm through. it stopped. Okay, I got a wood chip. I'm good. I would like to go through the wood, but I don't want to hit the metal. All right, so now take out the Forstner bit. What do I do with my? And we'll put in the tap. And again, I don't just grab the tap handle and crank it in by hand. I want it to be absolutely true, and my
Easiest way.
Jacob's chuck isn't big enough.
Easiest way is to use the center. Or live center, if you have a live center.
I have a live center. I knew I brought one for
It's
something.
got a whole dimple in the back.
Yes, it does.
Tap.
All right. I want it true, so I'm going to clean this first. Now I'm not going to tighten this up. I'm just going to push in. I need 3 hands to do this.
Give me a bar to hold back on those.
All right.
Because you also have to turn it. And
Have to turn it.
Got the wrench.
And if you have the Jacob's chuck, you have to be able
Oh, I'm gonna smack
to turn
you.
the...
Yeah, do that. I need it. I
Smack you
forgot
for
my
that.
forgot my
Other way,
wrench.
The other way. Pliers the other way.
Yes, you're right.
And then rest them up on the,
If I had a rubber
not gonna
band,
turn
I'd
this
just
thing on.
screw that. No, I'm not.
You're not
Okay.
turning the machine.
no.
No,
Oh, wait, no, we want to turn this. All right, you ready?
Let me put the...
All right, so actually turn your wrench.
As long as I do it this way, I'm not going to pick it up too bad. I'll
All
let
right,
you-
this is one way to do it. The other way is to take an adjustable wrench and put on there and just use the wrench and lock your spindle.
What do you say about 3 months or something?
Yeah, where's the football?
It's not biting yet.
I like the adjustable or a regular wrench. It works easier for me.
Yeah.
Unless you can call up Betty and make sure Ralph and Joe can come to your house.
Yeah. All right, now we're biting.
The title of this is Hire the Handicap, they're fun to watch.
Yeah.
Well, then he's got good hearing.
A little, you ever use any mineral spirits on this?
I just, on the acrylic, I do it dry. I lost my grip. Back it up just a touch, okay.
Wanna go back?
No, I'm good.
Break the chip?
Actually, it does need to break a chip.
It bottomed out already.
That's possible.
No.
All right. I may have bottomed out.
Oh, this thing don't have a flat spot on it. Put it in reverse. And turn it on.
It's a little iffy.
Yeah, it bottoms out.
All right, from here, I think I brought a Phillips screwdriver, yeah. Now I bottomed out on my safety pad with the tap. So now I can come back with the tap handle, now that I got it started straight, and finish the hole. I didn't bring my tap handle. Here's my little pad, and you see where I just broke through. And when I drilled for the 1032 screws, I drilled, but not all the way through. And when I tapped it, I used a regular tap to start it, and a bottom tap to finish going all the way down. So this will start, but it won't finish. So I still have to finish tapping. And you can see where I bottomed out right there. Don't look well.
I'm not looking. Yeah. Give you a place to rest. Right, Joe?
Exactly. Oh man, that is tough on my hearing aids.
I'll bet.
There's a turkey outside. He's going, oh, big.
Quick, get the shotgun. All right, now I got it on there. And you can see where I marked the lines here for this guy. And if I had brought a parting tool, I could turn that out.
All right, so you'll screw it up, cut the groove.
Screw it up. Now I would cut the grooves here and then glue this in with epoxy and clamp it while the epoxy sets.
With a tailstock too.
I could. With that funny plate I brought. So I brought this, but that's not good for the groove. That's not going to work for the groove. However, it will work for rounding out this thing. And you will see just how easy this acrylic turns. Just like wood. And I'm glad I'm wearing my glasses. It's almost round. No. Still got a flat spot. Yep, still got one. Two flat spots. Do a nice slow cut here and it'll come out better. That's good enough to polish there. I think I still got a little bit left on there somewhere. Yep. If you push too hard, it'll chip it and you'll get a pretty rough finish. But if I brought a parting tool, which I forgot, I intended to, I could have cut the groove, and then we put that in there in the groove. Now we want the groove slightly deeper than the thickness. So I'd probably go 3/8 of an inch for a 1/4 inch thickness. I have a large vacuum chuck at the house. That's half, yes. It's half this length. And there you see it's only a quarter. But that's Gorilla Glue
The way, that's what the screws were for, to hold it
onto the faceplate. Right. But they don't go all the way through. And here's an example. The paper is still on this, but this is ready for the groove. And there you can see the relief in the back, and then the threading. I'll pass this around. That's it?
And the paper didn't bother at all.
That was it?
That's it? Just in time.